Welcome to the Know. I'm Ashley. It's Friday. It's almost time for the weekend, but before you go, let's finish out the week with some news. Nintendo's got a new mystery project in the works, and apparently its working name is Eclair City. Some gaming sleuths uncovered the project via a listing on the International Age Rating Coalition's website, where it was rated back in December with a PG rating for mild violence. This unannounced project is probably a placeholder or codename for something they haven't announced just yet. That's usually how it works. Or it could literally be a game about baking with some mild violence in it. There's also no platform attached to the listing just yet, which means that this new title, be it brand new IP, just a pseudonym for something we're more familiar with, whatever, could be for the 3DS or for the Switch. Whatever the case, we can probably hope to hear a bit more about it at E3 in the next few months. Sony just got their hands slapped in the UK thanks to a claim of false advertising on a PlayStation 4 ad. The ad in question was for Gran Turismo Sport, which didn't properly specify that most of the game requires an internet connection, according to a complaint filed with UK advertising watchdog, the Advertising Standards Authority. The group decided this week to uphold the complaint on the grounds that you need to be online to play all of the cars and tracks, which the ad doesn't really say. You can't even play the tracks shown in the ad without an internet connection, actually, so there's that. Sony responded by saying you don't have to be online to play the game, but the ASA ultimately concluded that most of the game isn't available on the disc. It requires an internet connection. As for what this means, well, honestly, it's not that huge a deal. Sony just can't run that ad as is, and they need to be careful in future advertisements, but it is a bit of a slap on the wrist for them trying to be a tad sneaky about it. And we'll see if this has any further ramifications for games that require always online connections to play and don't really make that clear in their advertising. Far Cry 5 drops early next week, and just ahead of its release, Ubisoft has announced when you'll be able to start preloading the game. Xbox One and PC players will already have access to download the game early before this video is out, actually, so go do that, but PlayStation 4 players will have to wait until March 25th. And if for whatever reason you're still being cautiously optimistic, you're not sure if you want to buy it, you're not sure if you want to download it, we have some early copies. We'll be playing it, and we will share our thoughts with you guys when we can. So that way you can know if it's really up your alley or not. But regardless, it releases next week on March 27th. That really came up quick. Sea of Thieves hasn't exactly been smooth sailing since its launch earlier this week. Now Rare is going to be giving the game a little bit of TLC over the next few days to try and right that ship. The developers said that Sea of Thieves will be undergoing some scheduled maintenance throughout the weekend, going down on Saturday, March 24th and Tuesday, March 27th for at least 5 hours each time. That's admittedly not exactly the best look for the game's launch weekend, but hey, it's probably better than huge groups of pirates never being able to get into the game at all. Hopefully this will get the game back on track, and then they'll be able to add all kinds of new stuff to do. I've been playing it a bit, and I get the complaints. I have a lot of fun playing it, but I do feel like I'm doing the same thing over and over, and I've run out of new stuff already, which is a shame. But the game, just to play, the experience, a lot of fun. It looks like artificial intelligence is moving from board games to first-person shooters, which, if you ask me, is a pretty big step up. EA announced at GDC that it's been training AI software to play Battlefield 1, and there is a reason for it. Well, aside from training murderous robots of the future. EA says the trained AI will help improve future video games by making enemies tougher and more realistic. And also, it'll give developers new ways to debug their software. The software is being trained by a number of methods, one of which involves it watching human players and then attempting to copy their play. So basically, the robots are watching Twitch. And then the AI basically has to figure out the game for itself, and it gets rewards for doing things like killing enemies, which is called reinforcement learning. Great, can't wait to see AI kicking our ass in Fortnite next. We'll never be on top in video games again. We know that microtransactions make developers a ton of money, but apparently one developer pulled a microtransaction mechanic because it was making too much money. It happened in Warframe, the popular third-person shooter that was released in 2013. In Daniel Dwyer's no-clip documentary series about the game, which, by the way, you should absolutely check out his stuff if you like video games and the process that goes into making a video game, his no-clip series is absolutely spectacular. But in that documentary, studio heads talked about one microtransaction in the game where players paid a relatively small amount of money, it was about 67 cents, to change the color of their in-game pet. Well, some players liked it a little bit too much. Studio manager Sheldon Carter said, "We saw a guy pull the lever like 200 times and it's just like, oh my dear God, what have we done? We've created a slot machine. And so, you know, it was a couple days I think it took us to take it out. A day, day and a half. That one is a big regret. So that's cool to see. Maybe there's some other companies that could take some notes. Maybe, I don't know, like EA. I give them a hard time, but hey, look, at least they're walking back the pay-to-win mechanics in Battlefront 2. Heads up, mecha fans. You'll have to wait a little bit longer for your Zone of the Enders fix. Sorry, I know, no one wants to wait for that. Zone of the Enders is amazing, but we got it. That's because it looks like a remake of Zone of the Enders, the second runner, won't be coming out this spring as scheduled. The action mecha game originally came out for the PlayStation 2 in 2003, and Konami is remaking it for PC and PlayStation 4, calling the newest version Zone of the Enders, the second runner, Mars. And it looks like it's taking a little bit longer than expected. Konami yesterday announced a new release window for the game, saying it'll now release in September of this year. They also put out a new trailer for the game comparing the latest remake to the original PlayStation 2 game and an HD version for PS3 back in 2009. The new version will have a VR mode, which, man, for Zone of the Enders, that's gonna be pretty cool. I'm gonna check that out. And 4K support as well. And it definitely looks like it's the best one yet. And if you haven't checked out Zone of the Enders, it's worth at least looking at if you like mechs, because they're pretty cool. We've been dreading it for a few years now, but it seems all but certain the MCU is gonna lose its first big star. Chris Evans told the New York Times that he will not be returning as Captain America after Avengers 4, saying it's better to get off the train before they push you off. The next two Avengers movies were shot back-to-back with Infinity War coming out next month and the as-yet untitled Avengers 4 releasing May 3rd, 2019. Evans said there will be reshoots for Avengers 4 later this year, and that will likely be the last time he straps on his red, white, and blue outfit. Now look, that doesn't necessarily mean they're killing off Captain America. It is not necessarily that. There's a million different ways the movie could say goodbye to Steve Rogers, but look, it's all but guaranteed someone else will take up the shield, whether it's Bucky or Falcon or someone else entirely. Regardless, he's been such a great Captain America that I'll be really sad to see him go. But I get the feeling that we're gonna be saying a lot of goodbyes between Avengers Infinity War 1 and 2. E1's Mark Gordon and the team behind the Machinima series Street Fighter Assassin's Fist are bringing Ryu, Ken, Guile, Chun-Li, and M. Bison to small screens in the just announced Street Fighter TV series. This series will follow the storyline from Street Fighter II: The World Warrior, which sees our heroes join a fighting tournament with the aim of taking down its mastermind, the evil M. Bison. We've seen this video game plot a few times before. Sure, we've even seen a couple attempts by Hollywood to turn Street Fighter into a viable film franchise. The deliriously campy Jean-Claude Van Damme starring Street Fighter in 1994 was one and remains one of the all-time good video game movies, in my humble opinion. And there was 2009's The Legend of Chun-Li. Both examples technically flopped miserably. So I don't know, will TV be the place where Street Fighter stories can flourish? We will have to wait and see, but regardless, I'm kind of curious. Some of the biggest companies in gaming are joining forces to stop online harassment. The group called the Fair Play Alliance includes Riot Games, Blizzard, Twitch, Epic Games, and dozens of other studios who are going to share research and discuss measures that have worked, all in an effort to combat toxic behavior. And going by the names of some of those studios, some of them could use the help. They kicked off their efforts with a summit at GDC and say that their mission is to provide an open forum for the games industry to collaborate on research and best practices that encourage fair play and healthy communities in online gaming. Now, hopefully this is the start of something good, because this is a problem that's been plaguing video games for a pretty long time, especially anything where you go online. But if they can get it working, that would be great. It's all follow the rule. Be cool, don't be a dick. And with that sage advice, we'll all go off to the weekend. Let us know what you think of these stories in the comments down below, and to make sure you get news from every corner of the internet every weekday, make sure that you like this video and subscribe to the know. 2 steps. Well, you can take either one. One of 2. Baby steps. There's also no platform attached to the listing just yet, which means this is the new title. The intent of the game. So that's cool to see. Maybe some companies can take some notes, maybe some EA. I'm giving EA a hard time. At least they did walk back the pay to win stuff in Battlefield 2. Battlefield, fuck.